That ends the news out this morning on Sports Zone.
Okay. I think I can't state it enough. Really, I think the story about the Abiola Amuson Ijebu sprints and relays, which held last Friday and Saturday, is a really very good story. I've said it over and over again that we cannot always want to wait on the we can't always want to wait on the AFN to organize athletics meets, in their failing to do that for whatever reason. And usually it's all about funding. Individuals have a right to organize these things on their own, but of course in agreements with the AFN, because they have to be involved because they are the supervising body. So for this and for anybody out there who has that kind of intention, it's really, really very good. We can't have enough of these meets so that we're able to unearth the next Amusons, the next Blessing or Kagbares, everywhere around the country. And what I even think is dissatisfactory for us as a people, as a country, is that most of these meets actually happen either in the south or in the southwest. I've never heard of these things happening in the southeast or up in the north. So it's beholden on these people, on my people especially in the southeast and people up north, to help themselves by also organizing these kind of meets so that we can discover talents up north and the southeast as well. It just seems like everything we know, as far as athletics is concerned, is all the way down here. And that's really, really not good enough. So I'm urging anybody out there who's got the means, who's got the, wherewithal to do so, which is where I commend Gara Gombe, because he does have an athletics academy up in the north in Gombe. And as far as I know, that's the only one and the only person who's doing something like that up north. So a lot more people should get involved in organizing these meets. And as far as the NPFL is concerned, the results, just one away win, Doma United defeating Gombe by 3-0. The Bendel Insurance Remo Stars game. Every day, every weekend, we criticize referees in the Premier League. I think a Premier League referee was recently demoted to the Championship. Yeah. Because of the dodgy penalty that he gave in favor of Wolves, I think it was. But here and that's where they have VAR and everything. Here in Nigeria, I don't know if any of you have seen the Bendel Insurance Remo Stars highlights.
I saw it.
But the goal that Remo Stars scored, I don't know how any referee in the world would have adjudged that to be from an offside position of play. When a rocket was struck from outside of the 18-yard area from a throw-in. I don't understand it. I really don't get it. Remo Stars should have been walking away from Benin with at least a point. How that was said to be from an offside position of play beats me hollow up until this very moment. I just do not understand it. If we talk about how Nigerian referees are not selected for African tournaments, this is another clear example. How do you justify that kind of decision? If you haven't seen it, for those who are listening, please go and check it out. And if you have any kind of contrary opinion as to why the offside positions should stand, please let us know, because I just do not get it. I don't get it.
I was a bit confused about it myself when I saw it. And the first thing I thought was, okay, maybe the strikers in the box were offside. So when I played it again, I looked out for those strikers to see where they were. And to be fair, they were onside. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm getting something wrong, because this is the second questionable call. A week before, we had the questionable call about Sporting Lagos and Kwara United, where the defender had both arms behind him in a natural position, and the official still blew for a penalty. This is another one, right? And it doesn't put our league in good light at all, whatsoever. I think it's really wrong.
Fairly, if I can just jump in there. Commenting on Charles' take on the first two stories, I agree with him largely about the athletics bit, but I look at it more from praising Toby Amusho for our initiative, rather than absolving AFN from the need for them organizing as many meets as they can, or organizing in conjunction with blue chip companies like the Mobiles and the Nestle's that they used to do before, But be that as it may, it's a wonderful initiative from Toby Amusho. Long may it continue. And yes, the more athletics meets, private athletics meets we have, or we come from the private sector, the better. It will really help, especially as going into grassroots. And I agree with him 100%. As somebody who everybody knows is a huge defender of the MPFL, my heart bleeds. I think last week, Damila, I remember when Damila, who was at the state of a particular match, told me that the away side should have had a second goal. Then they went away to Kwara, were robbed of or was it a penalty that was given against them for that Sporting Lagos that was awarded for literally nothing. And then yesterday, and I'm particularly peeved because I predicted a draw. The Eagles see things. I predicted a draw in that game, and for that kind of daylight robbery, for such a beautiful goal to be chalked off, it boggles the imagination. And truth be told, I've complained about a CAF conspiracy eliminating our rights. I think we should even call in our good friend Adams to come and explain to us these decisions, because these gentlemen are making a mockery of the league, and then it's part of the reason why we don't do well on the continent. Because when players are already used to the idea of giving your best and are playing against the club officials, they're playing against officials, it becomes a mindset that when you travel, your head is not in the game. It's not fair. It's not fair. How can you go all the way from the Kenneth to Benin and be robbed? It's really not nice. And I say that about any club. It's not that I have any particular affinity for Remo Stars. It's just disgusting, really. And it's not good enough. I'm really unhappy this morning about that. And I thought these things were a thing of the past. We all saw the brouhaha that's going on in the UK. And it just goes to show too that, well, in as much as we condemn our own league too for officiating blunders, what do you say about people that have all the technology in the world? How many cameras do they have? This Femi Charles, I don't know. How many at a Premier League match? Probably about 50 cameras covering the game from all angles. Even if you sneeze on the pitch, the camera picks it up. But you can't see a ball that has gone out, that has crossed the line. For me, that Newcastle goal should never have stood. So what do we now say about the Premier League, where the referees don't even have that level of, they don't have any technology or whatever, but I think there's something as basic seeing with your eyes what is right and what is wrong. And if the arbiters of the game are compromised, then the game can never progress. And if our game doesn't progress, our natural team will stultify, because at the end of the day, we'll be forced to bring in players who are not particularly good, but who have Nigerian names from around the world. So it's a lose-lose situation, really.
No, but my challenge for this is the game against Kwara United and Remo Stars. When that penalty call was made, first thing I looked at was to see what the assistant referee had done, and he didn't even raise his flag up, and he had clear view. Now I also tried to look at this same game as well, and the first thing I checked was what was the assistant referee's call, because if the referee had seen something, knowing that he's not in a better position, the first thing you try to do is look at what your assistant is doing. Is your assistant also the same? And I'm wondering, I'm like, look, I'm not going to absolve the Premier League. I think the fact the Premier League are making errors and are calling out their errors, the only way to you to get things right is by saying, you know what, we're not good at these things. We're trying to get better at it, which is what PGMOL has said a few times. I'm not going to say, oh, it's right or it's wrong. I'm saying they've identified their problem, that technology is not the problem. It's interpretation of the rules that is the problem for them.
Subjective interpretation, God bless you, the subjective.
But for us, our own is even the basic interpretation of the rules. It's the basic interpretation of the rule, because we can argue back and forth. There's an angle that shows that ball did not cross the line completely, right? And we can go back and forth, because I even thought the foul or the contact between Joe Linton and Gabriel was the major issue, not the ball going out.
Exactly. Yes.
That was the contentious issue, not the. But
that's the same thing that the penalty was awarded against United for that kind of contact in the box. What are we talking about here?
But personally, I think that we should do better. And I'm going to say for our own, because this is our own. We keep saying we spend money streaming the league. We spend money watching these games on TV. We're investing by going to the stadium, buying merchandise and all. If we don't ask for an improvement, there's an investor now. So you have to give us. AIMA signed a deal this weekend, I think with Infinix. It was announced. So I'm saying money is coming into the league. We need to see improvement in all phases, both the refereeing, the play, coaching, social media. We need to see these things. If not, if we all keep quiet and say, oh, it's our league, it will get there, we're not doing it any good. Calling these things out means we want an improvement.
No, I agree with you, Femi, 100%. No matter how much we love our league, we have to. It's because we love our league that we need to call out. I mean, I'm not one for, when Eibar lost to Wydad Casablanca, I wasn't one of those that was lining up to throw rotten eggs at them. Because I said, you know what? It's like sending your son to go and write jam when he's in, when he's in GSS1. It's above his class, no matter how good he is. You understand? And they're not in our class, and they schooled us well. We need to go back and do our homework, basically. But how can we do our homework? And you even talk about interpretation. That one is not interpretation. Now, for me, that's the ref has been compromised. I'm sorry to say this. It's not about that particular goal. Come on now. No. What are you looking at? What are you seeing that everyone else is seeing differently? It's a different thing. If it's like the Asta goal, okay, you can say maybe not. But a shot from a throw for out, why? No.
I think football federation should take the bull by the horn, starting with making an application, a formal application for the use of VAR. Stadiums in Nigeria do not have VAR. Yes, we agree. It's expensive. Yes, we agree. But the Samuel at the Mudia Stadium, make no bones about the fact that they do have the equipment right there at the stadium. All the federation needs to do is apply to FIFA for the use of VAR in at least one of the stadiums that has the equipment. If VAR was in use, all you would have done was just quickly go to the monitor. And even though I think it's unrealistic, but again, just go to the monitor and look at the situation. The equipment is sitting there in Benin in some kind of store and just wasting away.
Charles, sorry to interrupt you, but let me make you laugh. Would you believe if there was VAR, that goal would have stood because he wouldn't have gone? Because he would know that there are people watching. Do you understand? So obviously, they go tell, so boy, that goal, what are you looking at? Do you understand? So it goes, I'm looking at if there's some form of malfeasance going on. I mean, why would you deny a clear goal? And it's happening literally every week. It's getting boring. It is getting boring. If an away team has, please give them the penalty. If they score a goal, let it stand. Which one is offside? When it's not right. We're not helping ourselves at all.
I remember putting out a tweet on was this Saturday or Sunday when Arsenal played, and I said, look, all Arsenal fans are going to moan all through the week, about the Newcastle goal that was given in the favor of the home side. But, the rule of the game says that all of the ball must cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
All of the ball. Now, I don't think there's anybody from whatever angles that they brought the pictures forward can say confidently that all of the ball did cross the line. I don't know. I really do. I can't say. Because the pictures that we saw, there was a fraction of the ball that was still on the line.
Yes.
That's exactly what the officials have gone with. Now, we can argue, we can leave that aside and argue about whether it was a foul on the player or whatnot. But some other experts have also postulated that, look, Gabriel made a meal out of being touched by Joe Linton, and that's the reason why the referee completely overlooked it. So there are different arguments to it. But for me, personally, I think the blame largely lies on the goalkeeper himself, Raya. Mm-hmm. Raya should not in any way have let that ball go through at all. That was very poor goalkeeping. And if you have to find somebody who's genuinely at fault, for me, I think it's the goalkeeper.
You know what, Charles? I hear what you say, but I'll say something. Yeah. Well, obviously, I want to say something. For Arsenal fans, have a genuine Arteta. They have a genuine case to be aggrieved. But be that as it may, on the flip side, if you look at it from the other side, I have no sympathy for them at all, because I remember when Garnacho scored against them at the Emirates. As far as I'm concerned, that was a goal. But, by the time they draw line, a milli centimeters, you understand, whatever, you understand, it was, and that could have changed the course of that game. So, for me, everybody's going to taste of that same bitter leaf soup. Because just as in United's game, that a goal disallowed, I've gone to YouTube, there was a goal that City scored some weeks ago, I think against the same Fulham. The goal stood with Akonji interrupting the goal, standing right in front of keeper and taking a swing and missing the ball. So these things happen. I blame the officials for what you call it, for their lack of consistency. Because whether Gabriel went over or not, he was quote unquote touched by Joe Linton. There was contact.
What happens to football is a physical game, Shego.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Consistency.
Stand straight and salute the player when he's about to score a goal. What do you?
I will argue too that Rodri and Højlund last week, when the penalty was, when he took them, went to go and dig that contact, it was the same thing. Rodri,
no, it wasn't the same. Now, Højlund was practically pulling down Rodri.
His hand was on him. There was contact, and the minute Rodri felt that contact, he went down. Okay, that's what they be. So you understand this bitter leaf stew or bitter leaf soup. Everybody will taste of it, because the lack of consistency in the so-called best Premier League in the world is frightening. For me, it's frightening. So Arteta can make all the noise he wants. The result stands. They lost, and ain't nothing going to change.
I'm even more worried about his statement. I thought that, look, what he said, it sounds. I remember in October when Liverpool were complaining, he says, look, it happens, and one-off, it happens, and then it happens to you, and then you go all, it's a disgrace.
And you throw your
20 years, and I'm like, and Arsenal comes out to say they support his statement, and I'm like, look, with all due respect, he said a lot of things bad about the officiating. One thing I saw in the game was, I thought Arsenal, Havertz should have gotten a red card in that game. I thought Bruno Guimaraes should have been sent off as well in that game.
That was a red card. God bless you.
And then the most important thing here is that, look, Arsenal did not do enough, my opinion, as a team that wanted to win that game. Did not do enough. True. So I'm like, you didn't talk about your team not creating enough, or you not selecting the right sort of players to get the results you want. You're playing Newcastle, and Newcastle kept evolving, changing. At some point, I didn't even see Saka in the second 45 minutes, because once they sent Trippier to the left, it seems as though Saka didn't exist anymore. And I'm saying that,
there's a guy who watches Monday Night Football on a regular basis. He knows how many hairs there are on Shegu, Victor, and my head. He knows, because that's how often he watches Monday Night Football. I wake up this morning, and his message is the first thing that I see on my phone, where he's asking me to warn Victor about what he has to say about Arsenal, when the show airs later this evening. And I'm like, come on. And he says, look, he knows Shegu is a United fan. He knows that I'm a subtle Chelsea supporter, and Victor is a City fan. Whatever happens to the fans of Arsenal being on the show, I'm just like, okay, so we could bring 20 analysts and put on the show. You've got to be able to. I really dislike it when, because you're seen as an analyst on TV or on radio or wherever platform there is, and you criticize a club, justifiably so, you criticize a club, and the next thing you know, he hates Arsenal, he hates Liverpool, he hates Man United, he's biased, he's that. Come on. At what point do we draw the line between objectivity, and whatever else there is?
And fantasy.
And you have to say the truth the way it is, no matter whose ox is God. And people need to understand this. Because I know that there are people listening now that will say these people are talking absolute nonsense. But it's an opinion, and it's your job as an analyst or a pundit to say it the way that you see it. It doesn't mean that you have anything supposedly against the website. It's the way you see things,
Yeah.
No, but Charles, I have a question for you. You describe yourself as a subtle Chelsea fan. What exactly is that?
Yeah, that's how he described me. That's how the guy described me. Because he wasn't, because people sent me messages yesterday talking about Chelsea playing Tottenham later this evening. Face your Chelsea who are relegated, and I'm like, look, whether Chelsea get relegated or they win the Premier League title, you're not going to find me moaning about anything. If you're abusing Chelsea, it's water off a duck's back. Because I mean, come on, as soon as I finish watching the game, I move on. I'm not going to moan and groan about something. I know they collect money from the club, but for signing.
But that game later tonight is very important, especially for your prediction.
Oh yeah, very, 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 very key. Yeah. Very key.
But I just want to correct that. If he's listening to the show, I'd like to correct it. Charles is not a subtle Chelsea fan. He claims to be a Chelsea fan, but he's actually a subtle Manchester City fan.
I'm not a subtle City fan. I've told you before, and I'll say it again. I support two teams in the Premier League, Chelsea and the City. I'm not hiding it. But I'm not going to go out there anywhere and misconstrue the fact because I supposedly like these two teams. I'm not going to do that. I don't like Pochettino. I don't like Nicolas Jackson. I don't like the players. I don't like Kurela. Over and over again. But I think the Chelsea players Chelsea is the team with the highest number of duds in the Premier League. I've said it over and over again.
I'm sorry, I disagree with that's Man United. I disagree with you. I'm sorry. I can take that argument up with you anywhere, to any length. It's Manchester United. Sorry.
Yeah, who's higher on the table, Chelsea?
Well, they 11th and 12th or whatever. What's the difference? Two Momo teams.
No, but the thing is that Pochettino has got to at least pull out a draw in today's game. There are no excuses whatsoever. We're talking about a team that you want to, so supposedly know everything there is to know about the team. Yeah, the mentality at Tottenham is different. The coaching philosophy is supposedly different. But you were there long enough, and you've been at Chelsea long enough as well. So this is the derby we're talking about. So all form is completely out of the window. And the least that Chelsea fans expect is a draw tonight.
Guy, I'm on 1 point from the weekend. I'm still on 1 point. Please. Spurs have to beat Chelsea for me. I cannot have 1 point for this weekend out of 5. Please. Please. Angie Kosakogu, do it for Papa. That's all.
Let me read a couple of messages before we go for a break. This one says, good morning, guys. It's never a surprise that the Premier League referees were most times not selected for both UEFA and FIFA competition because of their ineptitude. How can a referee and the VAR not see things from 3 different angles? The ball out of play, possible offside, Wilson's 2 hands on Megales. Olawale sent in that message.
I mean, that's not true. That's not true, no. Premier League referees are at every UEFA competition and at every FIFA competition. At least 2 of them.
We need to go for a break. We need to go for a break.
True.